a world shrouded in darkness, where crimes lurk in the shadows, there is a man who is always ready to unravel the mysteries. That man is Detective Ritz, a genius detective with an extraordinary intellect and keen observational skills. Each case is a new challenge, and every clue is a fascinating puzzle. Join Detective Ritz as he delves into the deepest mysteries and witness his extraordinary detective skills. A mysterious murder, a stolen necklace, or a dark conspiracy behind a fire. No case is too difficult for Detective Ritz. With the smallest of clues, he can paint a complete picture of the crime and bring the perpetrator to justice. Each episode is a thrilling and captivating story that will take you on a journey full of twists and turns. Be prepared to be drawn into intense investigations and thrilling confrontations between good and evil. Detective Ritz is not only a brilliant investigator, but also a kind-hearted person. He always fights for justice and protects the vulnerable.
Join Detective Ritz on a thrilling adventure filled with twists and turns.
It all began one rainy evening in London. Ritz was in his modest yet meticulously organized office, sipping black coffee. The rhythmic sound of raindrops against the window was interrupted by a frantic knock at the door.
Chapter 1. The Case of the Vanishing Heirloom. It all began one rainy evening in London. Ritz was in his modest yet meticulously organized office, sipping black coffee. The rhythmic sound of raindrops against the window was interrupted by a frantic knock at the door. "Come in," Ritz called, his voice calm. The door creaked open, revealing a young woman dressed in an elegant crimson coat. Her eyes were wide with distress. "Detective Ritz?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yes, please, take a seat," Ritz replied, gesturing to the leather chair opposite his desk. "I'm Clara Whitmore," she began. "My family's heirloom, a diamond necklace worth millions, has been stolen. It disappeared from our safe 2 nights ago. The police, they haven't been able to help." Ritz leaned forward, his fingers interlocked. "Tell me everything." Clara recounted the events leading up to the theft, describing the guests at a dinner party her family had hosted the night before the necklace vanished. Among the attendees were prominent figures, wealthy socialites, politicians, and a few celebrities. The safe was untouched, yet the necklace is gone, she concluded, her voice breaking. "I'm desperate." Ritz nodded thoughtfully. "Let's start at your mansion. I need to see the scene of the crime." Chapter 2. Clues in the Mansion. The Whitmore mansion was as grand as Ritz expected, with marble floors and chandeliers that sparkled like the stolen diamond necklace. Clara led Ritz to the study where the safe was located. "Here it is," she said, pointing to a massive steel safe embedded in the wall. Ritz inspected it closely. There were no signs of forced entry. "Who knows the combination?" he asked. "Just my father and me," Clara replied. Ritz scanned the room, his eyes lingering on the thick carpet beneath the safe. He crouched and picked up a tiny shard of glass. "Interesting," he murmured. "What is it?" Clara asked. "A clue," Ritz replied cryptically. "Now, I need to speak with everyone who was at the dinner party." Chapter 3. The Suspects. The dinner party guests were an eclectic mix. Ritz interviewed each one. Lord Edward Wycliffe, an aristocrat with a gambling problem. Madame Beatrice Duval, a French art collector rumored to be deeply in debt. Nigel Crane, a rising politician with questionable connections. Sophia Larue, a famous actress with a penchant for jewels. Ritz's keen eye noticed subtle inconsistencies in their stories. Lord Wycliffe fidgeted when asked about his whereabouts during the party. Madame Duval hesitated when describing her departure. Nigel Crane seemed too eager to provide an alibi, and Sophia Larue's charm felt rehearsed. Ritz gathered enough information to form a theory, but needed one last piece of evidence. Chapter 4. The Breakthrough. Late that night, Ritz returned to the mansion under the guise of checking the safe again. In reality, he was conducting an experiment. Using a small ultraviolet light, he scanned the room and found faint fingerprints on the safe's keypad, prints that didn't belong to Clara or her father. He followed a hunch and inspected the window near the study. Outside, he discovered a faint trail of footprints leading to the garden. The next morning, Ritz summoned the suspects to the Whitmore mansion. Chapter 5. The Reveal. As the suspects sat in the grand living room, Ritz began his explanation. The thief didn't need to break into the safe. They already knew the combination, Ritz said, his voice calm yet authoritative. He turned to Lord Wycliffe. You mentioned needing fresh air during the party. That was when you entered the study and memorized the safe's combination. Lord Wycliffe's face turned pale. That's absurd. Not at all, Ritz continued. But you didn't steal the necklace yourself. You passed the information to your accomplice, Madame Duval. Madame Duval gasped. Ridiculous! Why would I do such a thing? You're in debt and saw this as an opportunity to pay off your creditors. You retrieved the necklace after the party and smuggled it out using a hollowed-out art book. But here's where it gets interesting. You planned to double-cross Lord Wycliffe. Madame Duval glared at Ritz but said nothing. And as for Nigel Crane and Sophia LaRue, Ritz added, they were merely red herrings. Their shady reputations made them easy to suspect, but they had no involvement. Clara looked at Ritz in awe. But where is the necklace now? Ritz smiled. Hidden in plain sight. Madame Duval intended to sell it after the heat died down, so she hid it in the base of her walking cane. A gasp echoed through the room as Ritz unscrewed the cane's base, revealing the glittering diamond necklace. Chapter 6. Justice served with the evidence laid bare. Madame Duval and Lord Wycliffe were arrested. The Whitmore heirloom was returned to Clara, who thanked Ritz profusely. Your reputation is well-deserved, Detective Ritz, she said with a smile. Ritz tipped his fedora. Every mystery has a solution. You just need to know where to look. Chapter 7. The Shadow of a Mastermind. With Madame Duval and Lord Wycliffe behind bars, Ritz should have been able to close the case. However, on his way back to the office, he felt something was amiss. The case had been solved too quickly, and the culprit seemed far too incompetent to have orchestrated such a sophisticated plan. Someone else was pulling the strings. This thought led Ritz back to the scene of the crime. While meticulously re-examining the evidence, he noticed something peculiar. A painting in the living room seemed to have been moved recently. When he checked behind the painting, he found a cryptic note. Every play needs an audience, and this time, the audience is you. Ritz frowned. This wasn't just a challenge, it was a declaration. Someone had been watching him the entire time. Chapter 8. An Unexpected Ally. Realizing he needed help to face such a cunning adversary, Ritz contacted an old acquaintance, Amelia Gray, a psychological analyst with an uncanny ability to read people like an open book. Amelia was the only person Ritz trusted to analyze the mastermind's motives. Amelia, polished and sharp-witted, quickly joined the investigation. She reviewed the evidence Ritz had gathered and came to a startling conclusion. This person doesn't just want to challenge you, Ritz. They want to undermine your confidence. This isn't just a theft, it's psychological warfare. Psychological warfare? Ritz asked, his expression turning grim. Exactly, Amelia said. They're leaving clues intentionally. This is a prolonged game. The first theft was only the beginning. Chapter 9. The Second Act. Just as Ritz and Amelia delved deeper, another crime was reported. This time, a priceless painting had disappeared from the London Museum of Art, and a similar note was left at the scene. Act 2 begins. Catch up, detective. This confirmed Amelia's theory. The mastermind was baiting Ritz into a series of cases, as if writing a script with Ritz as the protagonist. Ritz quickly identified the stolen painting, the Eternal Night, a symbolic piece representing chaos and order. The painting wasn't just financially valuable, it carried deep significance for art enthusiasts. At the scene, Ritz discovered a small but crucial detail, a smear of wet paint near the window. The paint wasn't from the stolen artwork, but from a new set of brushes. This suggested the thief might be creating a replica to conceal their tracks. Chapter 10. An indirect confrontation. While tracing leads, Ritz and Amelia realized the crimes were interconnected through a complex network. Ritz sought out another key figure, Thomas Grayson, a retired expert in art forgery. When questioned, Thomas initially denied any involvement, but eventually confessed he had been coerced into aiding a mysterious individual. "Who is this person?" Ritz demanded, his tone icy. "They call themselves Spectre. I've never seen their face, only heard their voice over the phone. Spectre is a genius but extremely dangerous." Ritz understood that Spectre wasn't just a mastermind, but also a strategist, turning every crime into a grand performance. Chapter 11. The final puzzle. Spectre sent a direct invitation to Ritz for a secret auction where the Eternal Night was rumored to appear. Disguising himself as a wealthy collector, Ritz attended the event with Amelia. At the auction, Ritz quickly recognized familiar faces, including Sophia LaRue, the actress from the earlier case. Sophia wasn't as innocent as she had seemed. She was working for Spectre. Ritz kept his composure as the truth slowly unraveled. At a critical moment, Ritz noticed a Morse code message being transmitted through the flickering of a chandelier. The message was from Spectre. "If you want to end the play, find me on the real stage." Ritz immediately realized Spectre was referring to an abandoned theater, once a center of London's art scene, before it burned down. Chapter 12. The showdown. Ritz and Amelia break into the theater in the dark. There they discover that Spectre has set a final stage. Every detail of the previous cases is reenacted as part of a bizarre performance. When Spectre appears, he is wearing a white porcelain mask. He claps his hands, the sound echoing in the empty space. "Welcome, Detective Ritz. I've been waiting for this moment." Spectre presents a final riddle, a life or death game that only a person with superior intelligence can overcome. Ritz, with Amelia's help, not only solves the riddle but also turns the tables, causing Spectre to be arrested on the spot. Epilogue. The mystery of the mind. As Spectre was unmasked, Ritz chose not to reveal their true identity to the public. He understood that behind the facade of a villain, Spectre was a lost genius, obsessed with creating the perfect performance. "Not every mystery needs to be solved," Ritz said to Amelia. "Some should be left as they are." And as always, Detective Ritz walked into the sunset, leaving his story in the shadows, where mysteries forever awaited his discovery.